Yo, what's going on, guys? Moto IBSD here. Now, you may have two questions. One, why is there a front-facing camera? Well, it's actually just my phone. As you can see, I'm just recording with my phone on some selfie stick. And two, why am I in a parking lot? Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to review the 2015 Yamaha R3. Alright guys, so in order to turn on the bike, it does have a few safety measures. One, obviously you need to have your ignition on so that the dash is displayed. You need to have your kill switch off. If you are in gear like I am right now, you will not be able to activate the engine with the kickstand down. You do need the kickstand up when in gear. However, if you are out of gear and you're in neutral, you can start up the bike, no problem. To go ahead and get a kind of a feel of what the exhaust sounds like, so, the Yamaha R3, all versions of the Yamaha R3 sport a 321cc engine. It sports about 42 horsepower, and it gets about 54 miles to the gallon. Personally speaking, I have an average of 53.8 miles to the gallon, but if you are familiar with my videos, I am constantly full throttle, balls to the wall, going all over the place. So if you're just an average driver driving around, then you will easily get more than 60 miles to the gallon on this bike. It does sport a pretty small tank. You can get about 3 gallons out of it. It's a little bit larger than a 3-gallon tank. It's 3.2, but I would never use more than 3 gallons at a time. Now, this bike is very light as well. Depending on who you go to as far as weight specs, curb weight can be measured anywhere between 350 and 380 pounds. But once again, that is still a very light bike, and that is curb weight, so without you on it or fuel. Or at least some companies measure with fuel as curb and some companies do not. That's why the curb weight is a little bit varied. Now, the mirrors on this bike are attached to the front or the nose of the bike where the windshield is, and they just extend out. The only problem that I seem to have with these mirrors, and they tend to happen with a lot of mirrors that are similarly designed, is pretty much half the mirror is just you looking at your elbows. If you guys can see that, I'm just pretty much looking at my elbows. I do have to tuck my elbow in to see if there is a car behind me, if I'm if I am switching lanes or anything like that. First gear is very low, to be honest. You can only get up to about 35 miles an hour in first gear, and it is very jerky while riding around in traffic. Personally, I would recommend going up into second gear if you're going through slow traffic. It's a lot smoother gear, and as you guys can see, there's not a whole lot of jerking. It's very smooth motion. First gear would be more for taking off of street lights, stop signs, anything like that, accelerating through. Now, as far as wheelies go on this bike, I mean, 300cc bikes as a whole are not very meant for wheeling. However, you can wheelie this bike with some practice. In first gears, I can wheelie this bike from any RPM range, as long as I give it enough gas, and I always have to use the clutch-in technique. As far as second gear wheelies, you do have to do stand-up wheelies in second gear. I'm not familiar if anybody is able to do wheelies in third or above. Now, because the bike is so light, I have a turning radius that is pretty much the size of a human being. As you guys can see, I'm just able to turn on a dime, no problem at all. And yeah, it's super, you can make sharp U-turns. The bike is very nimble. It wants to roll over in the turns. And let's go ahead and do some acceleration and braking tests. What I have here is I have marked a point where I'm going to be braking, as well as 10 increment lines leading up to a total of 60 feet. I'm going to be starting at that end. I'm going to accelerate up to 30 miles an hour. I'm going to start braking at this line here, and we're going to measure how long it takes me to brake at 30 miles an hour. Unfortunately, I cannot do any higher speeds because I am limited to this area, which it's a pretty long straight, but I can't quite get up to 60 miles an hour and brake in time before I hit the road. So unfortunately, we will only be able to do 30-mile-an-hour tests. 27 feet. 25 feet. Once again, about 27 feet. So there you have it, guys. Those are the results. Or, correction, right here. Or right here, I don't know. Right here. Now, I did do multiple tests just to take into account of variables that are uncontrolled, such as my speed. Obviously I can't be looking at my speedometer while I'm approaching the target line for me to start braking, so I would check my speedometer about a second before, and then kind of keep my hand consistent on the throttle. Sometimes I'd be above 30, sometimes I'd be below. As well as braking, I can't always exactly hit the mark perfect, but we get a rough estimate, and after all the tests we get a pretty good example of braking distance of about 27 to 30 feet. Alright guys, so I just kind of want to go over a little bit about the features that this bike has to offer. There are some additional features as well as some features that are not available compared to other 300 series bikes or just other bikes in general. So let's start off on the left side. We have our standard clutch lever. We also have a passing indicator. You can just flash it to flash your high beams, as well as we have a low beam and high beam switch, permanent on high beams and permanent off low beams. We have our indicator switch, left for the left indicator, right for the right indicator, and a simple D press to cancel it.
We also have our horn, which is fairly loud. It's nothing spectacular though. On the right side we have our kill switch. Right now it's on dead. Right now it's on. Then we also have our ignition. You just depress that to start the bike up. Pretty simple stuff. And then as far as the throttle lever goes, it's very responsive. It has a pretty good spring to throw back the lever in case I need to get off the throttle really quick or something like that. There is no stickiness at all. Handbrake is fairly good. It's got pretty good range and fluid throughout. Now as far as the dashboard goes, we have only one analog measurement, and that is our RPM tach gauge. Goes from 1 to 12,000 RPMs. It redlines at about 12,500. I normally shift around 11. We have a water temp gauge, time, fuel, gear, miles per hour, as well as miles per gallon, average miles per gallon, trip, odometer, trip 1, a trip 2, as well as a trip F that only comes on when you have very low fuel. Right now I can't show it unfortunately because I don't have low fuel, but when you do, then the trip F automatically engages. Now as for the tires that come stock on the R3, we have the Pilot Street Series by Michelin. The front tire is a 110/70/17. 110 stands for 110 centimeter width. The 70 stands for 70% of the width is the sidewall, and 17 stands for the size of the rim. As for the rear, once again we have the Pilot Street Series. Same brand of tire, however this one is a 140/70/17. So same sidewall, same rim, but the tire is a little bit thicker. Now as for one of the last features that comes with the R3 is its compartment hold. It is in the back rear passenger seat, and all you need to do is use the key to open it. This access is located in the bottom left. You just turn the key a quarter turn and it will pop out the seat. You pull it up from the rear and then slide it back and it will unhook just like that. Now unfortunately there is not a whole lot of room in this compartment. I pretty much just have enough room to put my insurance and registration papers and DMV papers in. If you've been with the channel for a while, then you'll know that you can fit at least a 25 pack of CDs or DVDs in the compartment. But that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot of space, but just enough for, I guess, bare necessities.
Alright guys, so in order to test my acceleration, I'm just going to be going off of stoplights because I don't have a runway or anything that is long enough for me to get to 60 miles an hour at a safe, within, safety measures. So, here we go. Alright, so this will be our fifth and final test of acceleration. We're doing pretty good so far. I'm going into full tuck and I'm going up into third gear to hit 60 miles an hour, and I go a little bit over. So guys, just to wrap everything up, I will give my personal opinions on the bike. I tried to keep my personal opinions outside of the video for this point in time because I wanted you guys to just get the raw info, the raw data on what this bike is capable of and what it offers. The one or two criticisms that I do have about this bike that I am not particularly fond of is the ride. The suspension in the bike is fairly soft and jiggly. It's not as toned or refined as a typical Super Sport Series bike is, and I do know of a lot of people that complain about the suspension on this bike. Now, as far as hindering performance, it doesn't hinder you all that much. This bike is meant to be ridden around on the streets, and then, you know, you can take it up into the mountains like I have a few times already. And the bike is damn fun in the mountains, man. You have 100% power all the time, and you can just rip through the mountains with ease. You don't have to worry about over throttling or anything like that. You can just hammer to the wall 100% of the time through the mountains, and it is such a blast, dude. Suspension is pretty soft. If you guys notice in previous videos or in future videos, when I'm riding through the freeway, or if I'm going through a bumpy mountain road or something, you will notice the camera shake a little bit. That's not me shaking my head or anything. That's actually the suspension. It's very jiggly. It's not very stiff. When you go over a bump, the bike will jiggle a little bit after that initial bump. Many times on the freeway, I will go full tilt, and I can counter that suspension jiggle by just going full tilt and lifting my back end up off the seat a little bit, with my head down and in full racing tuck position. The mirrors, as I expressed earlier, I'm not a big fan of these mirrors. They do obscure your vision quite a bit as far as what you can see behind you, because half of the mirror is taken up by your elbows. Now, a remedy for this would easily just be the mirrors that you attach onto the ends of your handlebars. I'm not exactly sure how much those are. I'm not really interested in getting them, because it's not that much of a hindrance. All I have to do is tuck my shoulder in, and then I can see perfectly what's going on behind me. But it is just that little annoyance factor. This video was made due to a fan of mine who personally requested this. So for all those who also wanted a video like this from me but did not ask me personally, then I hope that this meets your expectations, and I hope that I was able to provide you with all the information you need to make a knowledgeable purchase. Would I recommend this bike to anybody else? Absolutely yes. This is what I feel to be a fantastic starter bike. I have never personally ridden or even touched a bike before this bike right here. However, if you do have experience with bikes in the past, then I would definitely recommend starting off with a 500 or a 600 series bike. Just because the 300, it's nice, but it doesn't quite have the power that most people would desire. If you have a history on dirt bikes or just bikes in general, then I would recommend a 500, like a CBR 500 or an R6 or ZX6R, even a Daytona 675R. I would recommend those for you guys. But for starter bikes, for people who have never been on a bike before, never even touched a bike, this is a wonderful bike to have for your first bike. Anyways guys, this has been Moto IBSD. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
I'm from a city where having a heart is not suggested. I'm a maverick, a tapping backs, I'm a savage inventor. I'm cleaning braces with tongue and vac in the back of dentures. Even a bearskin rug in the living room could get it.